What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Red and Gold Standard Podcast. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I am joined by my co-host Matt Llewellyn and our guy Mike Andrews of Nothing But Niners. We are here to discuss the 49ers 27-14 win versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How you guys doing? Matt, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. It wasn't the prettiest of victories. It wasn't as dominant as I thought it was going to be. But, the offense went out, and I thought they played really well. Defense, I hate to say I told you so, but there were issues on that defense on the back end particularly that kind of reared their ugly head today when Tampa Bay, was able to negate some of that pass rush. It'll be interesting to see what happens going forward. The 49ers are on a short week, but, I don't want to complain too much. It was a victory. We'll take it. We didn't get out scot-free, but again, 7-3, first place in the NFC West with at least a game of clearance over Seattle, who lost today. I'm a pretty happy camper. How are you doing?
Yeah, man. We didn't get helped out by Chicago and LA, but at least we got one of them. LA helped us out. The Seahawks kicker missed a 54-55 yarder to end it. But that's all right. Mike, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. Guys, I did an overreaction show and spent the whole time biting my tongue because I knew we were going to be going on. So I am ready to dive into this. I'm ready to say how I really feel about this game and about the players and play calling and so much stuff. So it's going to be a lot of fun, but I'm doing good. I'm sipping my tea. Had this sore throat thing. I got one more day of antibiotics. Hopefully I can shake whatever this thing has been going on for the last 3 weeks. And so you guys will see me sipping tea today, and I'll be chilling.
All right. Yeah, I see people questioning the title. Wasn't dominant. Game was close. I think the 49ers covered. Last I checked, they were favored by 12. They won by 13. Mm-hmm. Did it get close at times? Yes. Look, first half, it was a 6-point game. And the 49ers come out, and for the second straight week, just blow the doors wide open on a 76-yard passing touchdown to Brandon Ayuk, which was, I was actually interested to find out, the longest of the season by any team. So the 49ers last week had a 66-yarder to Kittle. This week have a 76-yarder to Ayuk. And I posted on X, who's going to catch an 86-yarder on Thursday night against the Seahawks? Because clearly there's a pattern going on. I think we have to start off with the main point. Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy finished the game with a perfect passer rating, something that had not been done since 89 or something crazy like that when Joe Montana and Steve Young, I saw both did it, which is kind of crazy that it both happened in the same season by both quarterbacks. But I guess you don't question too many things when it's Joe Montana and Steve Young. So I thought he played a hell of a game, put together 2 back-to-back really good games, 0 turnovers, another 3 passing touchdowns. Matt, let's start with you. What were your thoughts on Brock Purdy's performance?
He played about as well as you could play. I thought he made a ton of good throws. One of the things that I saw was that he still was hitting those in-breaking routes from Brandon Ayuk. And he played within himself. There was a play that he was able to get out of the pocket and hit a wide open Deebo Samuel on a busted coverage that he threw off one foot. It looked good. He had some movement out there, got ball out to George Kittle in space. It seems like that 2 to 3 game stretch where he just looked very inefficient. He took that and he adjusted. And one of the things that we've seen in the last 2 weeks, including today, is that Brock Purdy can hit a deep ball outside the numbers. And he hit another one today. Absolute drop in the bucket to Brandon Ayuk for the 76-yard touchdown. I think they said on the broadcast that it was the longest scoring play of the season. I'm not sure if that's actually accurate. I know there's been a couple of kick returns and punt returns. I don't know if those count, but in terms of like from scrimmage, the longest play, I mean, that'd be very interesting to see if that was true, but he looked poised out there. He looked really, really good. I can't be anything but happy with Brock Purdy. I think there was maybe one throw where it was halfway in danger, and that was on a 3rd down pass to Brandon Ayuk where it just kind of rode up a little high and Ayuk tipped it, and you always get nervous on those tip drills. But, I mean, he was, 21-25 for 333 and 3 touchdowns with no picks. It's hard to be – and had a scramble or 2 that looked pretty good. I will say right now, hats off to number 32 on the Buccaneers for not absolutely crushing Brock Purdy on a first down run late in the game. But yeah, overall, I thought Brock Purdy played very, very well. And some of these national talking heads, looking at you, Nick, Wright, are going to have a hard time continuing their narrative that Brock Purdy is a system guy or isn't good or whatever. I'm sure they'll find some BS way to make that continue to be the case for them because they like to, their irresponsible takes. But he was really good, man.
Yeah. It was really impressive. And I just think if that deep shot along the sideline that we've seen 2 weeks in a row now, if that's something that Brock Purdy can add to his repertoire, which certainly appears like he can, I don't know what this kid can't do. That's a throw I've been hoping a 49ers quarterback can make for the last decade. I think Cap made it a couple times. Maybe Alex Smith made it a couple times. I don't know if Jimmy ever made it. I think Jimmy maybe made a smaller version in the Super Bowl. That got called OPI on Kittle. It's total BS. But Brock has made that 2 weeks in a row, and it's just beautiful. It really is just beautiful. Mike, what were your thoughts on his performance?
No, I thought Brock played really well for the most part. I got a little frustrated with more at the offense, not him personally. But I have no complaints about this young man, and I'm excited to just be along for the ride. When I watch Brock Purdy, I don't get nervous when he drops back. He had this one play where he kind of double clutched it and then threw it across to Brandon Ayuk, and I think that was incomplete. And it was like a third down play, and I was like, why didn't he let it go? And they showed it from the other angle on the television copy. And if he had thrown it as soon as Ayuk came out of his break, he was past the line of gain for the first down, but he threw it a little bit later and it didn't quite get there. But little stuff like that, it'll work out. He's a good quarterback. We should be happy that he's here. He's playing well above average, and anyone complaining at this point is just trying to complain.
I wanted to pull up his chart from Next Gen Stats. Just to really kind of put it in perspective, he had a really good game. Let me pull up the picture, make it a little bigger so you guys can see it. And yeah, like Matt said, 21-25, 333 yards, 3 touchdowns, plus 13.7 completion percentage over expected or something. I think it's what it stands for. So just fantastic. I mean, it really is just fantastic. And what's crazy to me is 333 yards on 25 attempts. We normally see 25 attempts as 180, 220 maybe, but 333, it just really, I think, illustrates how efficient he is as a passer. And I don't know, maybe I'm biased, obviously, because I'm a 49ers fan, but that intermediate, 15 to 20 yard pass that he can hit, he's the best in the NFL at that. That's his bread and butter, that 10 to 20 yard pass down the field. He's so good at it. And they're layered throws. That's what makes it more important. He gets them over the linebacker, but before the safety. So I don't know. I'm just really impressed with the kid. He had a couple tough weeks there, but he's definitely bounced back. I don't know if you guys go ahead.
I love seeing this chart, and 8 of those completions are beyond 10 yards. It's not dink and dunk. This is not your typical what we've been seeing from the 49ers for the last 3 or 4 seasons. So this is definitely the signs of a good quarterback. He's doing it on both sides of the field, left and right side. It's great. It's absolutely great. There's nothing wrong with the way this kid is playing ball. He's playing really, really well. And if he can maintain this level of play, the Niners, the only thing they have to improve on going forward is going to be the run game. And they should figure that out soon.
Yep. All right, let's move on. I think obviously the biggest news coming out of this game, unfortunately, looks to be an injury. And the 49ers had been pretty good with injury luck this season, but it looks like they got a pretty bad one today with Talanoa Hufanga on a play where I believe it was Rashad White was, taking a pass out the backfield, juked him, and Hufanga went one way, his leg stayed the other way. And it looks like he tore his ACL. He was carted off the field. Kyle Shanahan thinks it's pretty likely it's a torn ACL. Matt, you called it right away in the group chat. I hate to say it, but you think it's ACL. I'll start with you, Matt. How big of a loss is Hufanga? I mean, he was an all-pro last year. Is this something the 49ers are going to be able to overcome? How do you feel?
I mean, it's not nothing, obviously. Hufanga is a very important player for the 49ers. But I thought, all things considered, Jair Brown got off to a rough start, gave up a big completion, but then came back with a beautiful pass deflection on I believe it was a 4th down play to Mike Evans in the end zone that they didn't get. And then with the heads up play to catch the deflection for an interception off the helmet of Dre Greenlaw that really put an end to
కల్పించడం, అక్కడ రవాణా ముఖ్యంగా సులభంగా ఏర్పాటు చేయటం, రోడ్లు, విద్యుత్తు, మురుగునీటి పారుదల, మంచినీళ్ళు, వరద నీటి పారుదల, ఉన్న కొద్దికి వర్షాలు పెరుగుతున్నాయి కొన్ని సందర్భాలు, అకాల వర్షాలు గల వరద నీటి పారుదల, మంచి ప్రమాణాల విద్య, ఆరోగ్యం, చిన్న చిన్న పరిశ్రమలు, ఉపాధి కల్పన కోసం ఏర్పాట్లు ఉంటే మిగతాది ప్రైవేట్ రంగం నుంచి వచ్చేస్తుంది. ఎక్కడ చూసినా అవకాశం ఇస్తే రోడ్డు రాగానే వెంటనే లేఅవుట్లు వేసేస్తున్నారు. పల్లెటూళ్ళలో కూడా కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ ఇండస్ట్రీ వస్తుంది, మిగతా వాళ్ళు వస్తారు. పల్లెటూరు బదులు ఎక్కడంటే జీవితం బాగుంటుంది, ఊళ్ళో పొలం చూసుకోవచ్చు, పని చూసుకోవచ్చు, ఇక్కడ పని చేసుకోవచ్చు, ఊళ్ళోనే ఉండొచ్చు, ఇక్కడ కొంచెం ఖర్చు అయితే 10 నిమిషాలు ఇక్కడికి వచ్చేయచ్చు. మొత్తం పరిస్థితి ఇంకో రకంగా ఉంటుంది. ఈ దయనీయంగా ఉండదు, ఈ భయంతో ఉండదు. కాబట్టి 100 చిన్న పట్టణాలు ఈ 3 పార్టీల నాయకుల్ని కోరుతున్నాను, కేవలం యథాస్థితి కొనసాగిస్తే లాభం లేదు. ఒక పార్టీ మరో పార్టీ వస్తే అది అద్భుతం జరుగుతుంది అనుకోకూడదు. ఒక స్పష్టమైన వ్యూహం ఉండాలి. 100 చిన్న పట్టణాలు కావాలి. వచ్చే 5 ఏళ్ళు మన శక్తి మొత్తాన్ని కూడా ఈ 100 చిన్న పట్టణాలు పెంచి ప్రతి ప్రాంతంలో ఉన్న గ్రామీణ ప్రాంతాలలో కూడా చిన్న చిన్న నైపుణ్యంతో హాయిగా ఇక్కడ బతకగలను, ఈ ఊళ్ళో నాకు అవకాశం దొరుకుతుంది, వ్యవసాయం చూసుకుంటే నేను పరిస్థితి కల్పించాను. వ్యవసాయ రంగం సంక్షోభంలో ఉంది. ప్రస్తుతం రైతులు కొన్ని ప్రాంతాల్లో ఉద్యమాలు చేస్తున్నారు. ఆ ఉద్యమాల నుంచి వాళ్ళు కోరుతున్నది అసంబద్ధమైనది. నేను బహిరంగంగానే నా భావాలు వ్యక్తం చేశాను ఎన్నో సందర్భాల్లో, జాతీయ వ్యాప్తంగా, తెలుగు రాష్ట్రాల్లో. కానీ ఆ వేదన నిజమైనది. సమస్యల పరిష్కారం అర్థం కాక ఏదో గతంలో కొనసాగినట్టుగా సాంప్రదాయబద్ధంగా కొన్ని కోరవచ్చు. కానీ రైతుల వ్యవసాయ రంగం, గ్రామీణ రంగంలో సంక్షోభం నిజమైనది. ఆ సంక్షోభ నివారణకి వ్యవసాయ రంగము, గ్రామీణ రంగం కలిపి చూడాలి. సమగ్రమైన ఏర్పాటు ఉండాలి. వివరాల్లో వెళ్ళడానికి టైం లేదు కాబట్టి దానిలో వెళ్ళాలనుకున్నాను. ఆ సమగ్ర వ్యూహం లోక్సత్తా దగ్గర ఉన్నది, మరికొందరి దగ్గర కూడా ఉన్నది. ఏదో మనకి ఉద్యమం వస్తే, రస్తారోకో వస్తే ఆనాడు పట్టించుకుని అది తేలిపోగానే మళ్ళీ మామూలుగా గాలి పీల్చుకుని మామూలు అనుకుంటే మళ్ళీ ఇంకో సంక్షోభం కోసం చూస్తే పరిపాలన కాదాడు. కనీస ప్రమాణాల చట్టబద్ధ పాలన. ఈ దేశంలో ఏ పార్టీ ఎక్కడ అధికారంలో ఉన్నా కూడా చట్టం అధికారంలో ఉన్నవాడు చుట్టమైన మాట వాస్తవం. ఇప్పుడు మరీ అడ్డగోలుగా మారిపోయింది. కాబట్టి కనీసం కొంత ఒక్కరోజు మీరు మార్చలేరు. నేను ఇది జాతీయ స్థాయిలో జరగాలి, రాష్ట్రంలో జరగాలి. కనీసం అడ్డగోలుగా ప్రవర్తించదు చట్టము, పోలీసు యంత్రాంగము. కనీసం తగాదాల పరిష్కారానికి వేగంగా ఒక సమగ్రమైన ఏర్పాటు ఉంటుంది. లేకపోతే పెట్టుబడులు రావు. తగాదాలు పెద్దదానికి గుండాన్ని పెట్టుకోవాల్సి వస్తే, రాజకీయంగా పరపతి కావాల్సి వస్తే, పోలీసులు అండ కావాల్సి వస్తే ఎవడు పెట్టుబడి పెట్టాడు? అడిని పెడతాడండి పిచ్చోడా? కోట్లు పెట్టేవాడు మీ దగ్గరికి వస్తాడు, మీ కాళ్ళు పెట్టుకుంటాడు, వాడిని వస్తాడండి, ఇంకో చోట పోతాడు. తగాదాల పరిష్కారం కావచ్చు, ఆస్తి హక్కుల రక్షణ కావచ్చు, కాంట్రాక్టుల ఎన్ఫోర్స్మెంట్ కావచ్చు. కనీసం ఎంత మేరకైనా చట్టం సమర్థంగా పనిచేస్తున్న విశ్వాసం కలగాలి. దీర్ఘకాల ఎజెండా ఉంది, దానిలోకి వెళ్ళను. లోక్సత్తా తొలి నుంచే పోరాడుతాం. అది దేశంలో జరగాల్సింది. రాజకీయ పార్టీల సంగతి కానీ, ఎన్నికల వ్యవస్థ సంగతి కానీ, అధికార వికేంద్రీకరణ కానీ, చట్టబద్ధ పాలన మౌలికంగా మార్పులు తీసుకొచ్చి ఈ దేశంలో నేర పరిశోధనలు ఎవడో జోక్యం చేసిన అవకాశం లేకుండా చేయడం కానీ ఇవాళ జరిగితే సంతోషంగానే ఒకరోజు జరగవు. కాబట్టి దాని గురించి నేను మాట్లాడలేదు. అంచేత దయచేసి తెలుగు ప్రజలంతా కూడా మనసు పెట్టి ఆలోచించండి. మీ కుటుంబాలు, మన పిల్లల భవిష్యత్తు గురించి ఆలోచించండి. మన కులము, మన వర్గము, మన ఊళ్ళో ఉన్న ఫ్యాక్షను, దీని చుట్టే మన ఆలోచన తిరిగితే, సంకుచితంగా అయిపోతే సమాజం అల్లకల్లోలం అవుతుంది. నష్టపోయేది బీదలు అత్యధికంగా. డబ్బున్నోడు ఎట్లా కూడా తట్టుకుంటాడు. పెట్టుబడులు రాకపోయినా ఇంకో రాష్ట్రానికి పోతాడు. అవకాశాలు లేకపోయినా పిల్లల్ని ఇంకో దేశానికి పంపించుకుంటాడు. నష్టపోయేది చివరికి బీదలు. ఏ బీదల పేర్లు చెప్తున్నామో బీదల పొట్ట కొడుతున్నాం. ఆ బీదల పిల్లలకు భవిష్యత్తు లేకుండా చేస్తున్నాం. అందుకని మరి ఇంకొకసారి సమాజంలో పుట్టుకతో అసమానత గురైనటువంటి వర్గాలు, కేవలం ఫలానా కుటుంబంలో పుట్టామన్న పాపానికి అవకాశం లేకుండా అలమటిస్తున్న యువతను నేను కోరుతున్నాను. ఒక్కసారి కళ్ళు మూసుకు ఆలోచించండి. యథాస్థితి కొనసాగినట్టయితే నా జీవితం 10 ఏళ్ల తర్వాత ఎట్లా ఉంటుంది ఆలోచించుకోండి. మీరే 20 ఏళ్ళకి ఎట్లా ఉంటుంది మీరే ఆలోచించుకోండి. ఇదే కావాలన్నా ఇది కాదు అన్నట్టయితే ఏం కావాలి? ఫలాంది కావాలి అంటే దానికి ఉన్నంతలో ఉన్నటువంటి ఇవాళ రాజకీయ శక్తుల్లో ఏ పద్ధతి అయితే మనకు సరిగ్గా ఉంటుంది. అద్భుతమైన లేదు, ఇక్కడ దేవతల రాక్షసుల మధ్య పోరాటం ఉంది, మళ్ళీ చెప్తున్నాను. కానీ ఉన్నంతలో, ఎందుకంటే ఈ మనుషులే కదా, మనుషులు ఎక్కడి నుంచి రావట్లేదు కదా, పోటీ చేసేవాళ్ళు వీళ్ళే, రాజకీయంలో పాల్గొనేవాళ్ళు వీళ్ళే, గ్రామాల్లో నాయకత్వం ఇచ్చేవాళ్ళు వీళ్ళే. కాబట్టి అక్కడ పెద్దగా అద్భుతాలు మార్పు వస్తున్నాయి అంటలా, కానీ కనీసం ఏ పంథా చూపెడుతున్నారు, ఈ దారా ఆ దారా, దాన్ని బట్టి భవిష్యత్ నిర్ణయం అవుతుంది. ఆ నిర్ణయానికి కీలకమైన ఘట్టం ఇది. రాజకీయ పార్టీలను ప్రత్యేకంగా విజ్ఞప్తి చేస్తున్నాను, ప్రజల్ని ఆవేశంలోకి నెట్టబోకండి, విద్వేషాలను రెచ్చగొట్టబోకండి, ఆలోచించే రీతిని చర్చని పెట్టండి, మీ భావాలు మీరు బలంగా చెప్పండి. ప్రజాస్వామ్యంలో ఆ స్వేచ్ఛ ఉన్నది, ఆ బాధ్యత ఉన్నది. నేను ఇవాళ భావాలను కొండ బదలగొట్టినట్టు చెప్పాను, కానీ ఎక్కడ ఎవరి మీద అవమానించాలని కాదు, కోపం లేదు, కసి లేదు. ప్రజల పట్ల ప్రేమతో ప్రవర్తించండి, ఇతరుల పట్ల ద్వేషంతో కాదు. ద్వేషాలని, కులాలని, వర్గాల్ని రెచ్చగొట్టబోకండి. కొన్ని సందర్భాల్లో ఈ రాష్ట్రంలో కొందరి మాటలు వింటుంటే ఒక క్లాస్ వార్ లాగా, వర్గ పోరాటం. పూర్వకాలం సాయుధ పోరాటం చేస్తున్న కాలంలో కమ్యూనిస్ట్ సిద్ధాంతం అది, వర్గ పోరాటం, వర్గశత్రువులు. కొందరు వర్గశత్రువులుగా భావించేటువంటిది చాలా ప్రమాదకరమైన రాజకీయం ప్రజాస్వామ్యంలో. ప్రజాస్వామ్యంలో ఎన్నికల్లో పోటీ చేసేవాళ్ళు శత్రురాజులు కాదు, విభిన్న భావాలతో ప్రజల మద్దతు కోసం ప్రజల ముందుకు వచ్చేవాళ్ళు. అది మర్చిపోయి మీడియాలో కానీ, సోషల్ మీడియాలో కానీ, లేకపోతే పార్టీల ప్రవర్తనలో కానీ, మాటల్లో కానీ, చివరికి దానివల్ల మన బజారులో చర్చల్లో కానీ ఇదేదో బస్తీ మే సవాల్ లాగా ఉంది. బస్తీ మే సవాల్ కాదు, ఇది వర్గ పోరాటం కాదు, ఇది వర్గ శత్రువులు ఎక్కడ లేరు ఇక్కడ. మీరెవరో శత్రురాజులు కాదు. ప్రజల డబ్బుతో ప్రజల భవిష్యత్తు కోసం మీరు కొన్ని భావాల్ని ప్రజల ముందు పెట్టి మద్దతు కోరుతున్నారు. లక్ష్యాలు ఒకటే అని నేను నమ్ముతున్నాను. మనసులో మీకేమన్నా కూడా కనీసం మీరు చెప్పే లక్ష్యాలు ఈ అందరి బ్రతుకులు బాగుపడాలనే కదా, అందరికీ న్యాయం జరగాలనే కదా, రాజ్యాంగం వికసించాలనే కదా, అభివృద్ధి రావాలనే కదా. ఇంకా శత్రురాజ్యం ఎట్లా అవుతుంది? అంచేత సామాన్య ప్రజలను కోరుతున్నాను, వీళ్ళందరూ కూడా మన అమాయకత్వాన్ని ఆసరాగా చూసుకుని మన రెచ్చగొట్టే ప్రయత్నం చేస్తున్నారు. రెచ్చగొట్టొద్దు పార్టీలను కోరుతున్నాను. రెచ్చగొట్టే ప్రయత్నం చేస్తే బుద్ధి చెప్పండి వాళ్ళందరినీ, ప్రజలందరినీ మనసారా కోరుతున్నాను వినమ్రంగా. మరోసారి మీ అందరికీ నమస్కరిస్తూ సుదీర్ఘంగా చెప్పాల్సి వచ్చింది, ఎందుకంటే ఈ విషయం కూలంకషంగా చెప్పకపోతే తెలుగు రాష్ట్రాల్లో అమ్మ అంటే బూతుమాటాయ పరిస్థితి వచ్చింది. ఇవాళ నేను ఫ్రాంక్గా చెప్తున్నాను, అమ్మ అంటే బూతుమాటాయ పరిస్థితి వచ్చింది. కాబట్టి కనీసం మాట చెప్పేప్పుడు విశదీకరించి కారణాలను చెప్పి ఊరికే ఏదో గుడ్డెద్దు చెలబట్టట్టు కాకుండా ప్రజల ముందు వాస్తవాలను పెట్టే బాధ్యత మనందరికీ ఉంది. కాబట్టి నేను మీకు ఆ సమయం ఎక్కువ తీసుకుని మన్నించండి. మీ అందరికీ నమస్కరిస్తూ నేను సెలవు తీసుకుంటాను. ఏమన్నారు? చెప్పాను కదా వాళ్ళ లెక్కల ప్రకారమే ఇప్పుడు 2022-23 లెక్కలోనే, తర్వాత లెక్కలు ఇవ్వాలి వాళ్ళు. 43% వాళ్ళ లెక్కల ప్రకారమే ఉంది. దానిలో బకాయిలు లెక్కే లేదు, అది కూడా 2 ఏళ్ల క్రితం లెక్క. అది కలిపితే 50% వచ్చింది దాదాపుగా. సరే, ఇప్పుడు నేను ఏం చెప్పినా కూడా ఇన్నేళ్ళు నన్ను చూశారు కదా, కాకూరు లెక్కలు చెప్పినప్పుడు నా విన్నారా మీరు? అధ్యయనం చేయకుండా లోతుగా నా నోటి నుంచి ఒక్క మాట కూడా రాదు. పొరపాటు ఏమైనా దొల్లితే పొరపాటు సవరించే ఏర్పాటు మీరు చేస్తే వాస్తవాల ఆధారంగా ప్రామాణికంగా నేను తప్పకుండా సరిదిద్దుకుంటాను. కాబట్టి నాకు గొడవ లేదు. అంటే ఈ ఊరికే చేయాలి, ఇది చాలా అధ్యయనం చేసి జాతీయ స్థాయిలో తయారు చేసింది. ఇది మీ రాష్ట్ర బడ్జెట్లోంచి నేను తీసుకున్న అంకెలు, నా సొంతం ఏమీ లేదు. ఇది కూడా అంతే. అందుకనే 10,493 కోట్లు నేను చెప్తే దానిలో 99.7% జాతీయ స్థాయి నుంచి వచ్చింది. ఎప్పుడన్నా మీరు చరిత్రలో విన్నారు? నాకు సమాచారం కూడా పూర్తిగా లేదు కదా, ఉన్న సమాచారంతో చాలా నిజాయితీగా సమగ్రంగా చేశాం. కొంతమంది నా మీద కోపం తెచ్చుకున్నారు అధికారులు, దీనిలో సభ్యులు కూడా. మీరు మరి ఇంత చాదస్తంగా ఉంటే ఎట్లా అని నేను చెప్పాను. మనం చాలా ఇంటిగ్రిటీగా ఉండాలా, మన మాట పొరపాటును కూడా పొల్లు పోకూడదు, విశ్వసనీయత ఉండాలా. ఇష్టం వచ్చిన అస్తిత్వం చెప్తే మన గౌరవం పోతుందని చెప్పాను నేను. చివరికి అదే నిజమైంది. కాబట్టి వాస్తవాలు చెప్తే అంతే. ఇప్పుడు నాకు తెలిసినంత వరకు 5 ఏళ్ళుగా దాదాపు ఏమీ జరగలేదు, పనికొచ్చేది జరగలేదు. ఏమన్నా కొంత అదనంగా పని జరిగితే సంతోషం, నాకు అనవసరం. కానీ 2020 నాటికి 100కి 100 పాళ్ళు మొదటి దశ పూర్తయ్యే పరిస్థితి ఉన్నది. ఇన్నేళ్ళు ఎందుకు గడిచిందో నాకు తెలియట్లేదు. గ్రావిటీ ద్వారా నీళ్లు రాకపోతే ఎత్తిపోతలు చేస్తున్నాం. ఆ తర్వాత రెండవ దశ మరింత సంక్లిష్టమైంది, ఎందుకంటే రెండవ దశలో దీనిలో కూడా సవివరంగా
missed. So I don't understand what we can do to make this better, but you can be a one-dimensional team, and the one dimension that you would think the Niners would have would be the run game. You would think that the run game would be their strength, and that's not it at all. This team is throwing the ball at such a highly efficient rate. As long as Debo is healthy, it's kind of scary, right? But you can't get away from the run game, and so I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if they need to come up with like a different plan or something, but they have to figure something out, man. This run game, and it's not about how good Christian McCaffrey is. We know how good Christian McCaffrey is. We know how he runs. We know what he's good at. We know what he's bad at. It's well documented in the NFL. It's not about him. And so the woes that are coming from that have to be with other issues. And it's not the player. It's the either play design, it's the blocking up front for him, whatever. It's not good. And we're not gonna be the team that we want to be in the postseason if we can't start running the ball better. They have to make an emphasis on this.
Agreed. By the way, we were talking about George Kittle, and I was trying to find this tweet, and I did find it. I got to share this because this is it's so good to see. This is per Marcus Thompson. Let me change the screen here. George Kittle before Brock Purdy, he had 24 touchdowns in 76 games. Since Purdy, he has 12 touchdowns in 16 games. For the life of me, I will never understand why Jimmy Garoppolo did not target this man in the end zone. He just refused to look his way. He would go to him in between the 20s, but then when they actually got in the end zone, he just was not an option. Brock Purdy sees the value there and sees the opportunity once they get into the end zone, and Kittle caught one today. So he's just so good. And in my opinion, he just had a career resurgence here with Brock Purdy, because we were talking about he's on the decline. Perhaps the 49ers should trade him. He's not the same good guy. He's never going to have 1,000 yards again. He's having a hell of a season and a hell of a stretch since Brock Purdy has come in. I don't know if you guys have any more thoughts on that. I know we talked about him already, so if not, it's cool. But
I am happy to eat my words. I said it when he signed his contract extension. George Kittle will never be a 1,000-yard receiver again, and I think he's on pace to beat that. Now, I also said that with the 16 games in mind, but even still, I think he's on pace to have 1,000 yards by the 16th game. So kudos to George Kittle. Wayne and I broke it down maybe a couple weeks ago before today. So, and he only needed like 70 or 80 yards a game or something like that. And I mean, I'm pretty sure he got that today. So he's being used properly. And I'm not concerned about him. There is a player on the offensive side of the ball that I'm concerned about, though. I already told you guys it's not Christian McCaffrey. It's definitely not Kittle. I have no concerns about the guy behind me, the guys behind me, in Brock Purdy or Brandon Ayuk. So I think it's pretty obvious who it is, but I'm sure we'll get to that later on.
John Feliciano. I knew it.
Yes,
I knew you were going to have a big problem with him.
Hey, there was a pass that Purdy made that was actually pretty sweet for a first down, but John Feliciano got pancaked into Brock Purdy's like at his feet by Vita Vea. Dude got pretty consistently busted today, unfortunately.
Yeah. But
that is Vita Vea. He is no slouch by any stretch.
Exactly.
Nah, he's a beast, dude. That dude's
a top 10 DT in the league, so I respect him a lot.
He's so good, man.
It reminds me of like week 1. You know, it's like you're going up against TJ Watt. You're not going to face that every week, so just get through it, and hopefully next week you won't have to suffer through and it's an extremely tough matchup. All right, Mike, I know you wanted to touch on something in the offense. Is there anything other than that you wanted to talk about in this offense? I saw some people questioning the decision-making late in the game, saying, why take the game out of Brock Purdy's hands, Kyle? He's having an amazing game, running it to put the clock away, and you lose yards on first and second down. I wasn't that upset with it. I don't know. What do you think, Matt?
I don't know. I kind of was. I felt like he became a conservative play caller to a point, right? And then when it was kind of looking like, oh, Tampa Bay's not going to go away, then he tried to go back to, okay, let's get back to throwing the ball. But in a lot of ways, he got very predictable there for a minute. There were a couple of Christian McCaffrey carries that were like losses that you just knew were coming. When they were backed up near the end zone, this was earlier in the game, but there are certain situations where Kyle Shanahan becomes predictable, right? They get backed up near the end zone. It was like a punt or whatever. And it was like 3rd and long. And I'm like, all right, dude, we all know what this is. It's a halfback draw. Like we know it's a give up. They're just gonna, and at first they lined up empty backfield and you're thinking, oh, wow, he might throw. And then they motion Christian McCaffrey into the backfield. And I was like, oh, no, here it is. And that's exactly what it was. When Kyle Shanahan sits on the lead, he gets very conservative with his play calling. I can kind of see how people would get upset with that because it keeps these teams in the game. All they had to do was keep doing what they had been doing, which had been working for the most part. They'd been moving the ball and getting first downs and everything else. It's just, it gets frustrating. So I can kind of see how that would be something that people, I felt it too, honestly.
Okay.
Do you guys attribute any of that to it's a short week and let's just try to get out of here? Like, do you think that he reeled it in a little bit because of that? Like, let's not do too much right now, or
maybe part of that. But then on the other hand, he's the same guy that when, you're blowing out teams is like, well, I remember the Detroit game, so I'm not, I got nervous about pulling starters. It would be a very weird disconnect for him in a closer game to be like, let's just go home versus, a game that's more out of hand being like, well, let me keep my starters in because of something that happened 2 years ago. I don't know. He does that thing where he starts out coaching himself and he still does that. And that's one of the things that I kind of worry about going forward, to be honest.
Yeah, they had what was it? I think three and outs in a row or something like that, and that's when I started to get a little nervous. Like we have to like do something here. And then the couple of drives where we had some success, they kept going to the sideline and stopping the clock for the Broncos. I mean, the Buccaneers, and I'm like, what are y'all doing? Like
when Ayuk went
inbound.
Stay bounce at the opposite. I think that was at the end of the first half, right?
Yeah,
they're trying to save time. Ayuk goes down to the sideline and then falls down right there.
And then
they had to use their second timeout.
I'm like, come on, man! Like we're not doing this right, guys. Like, what are y'all doing? Where's the focus at right now? So it's just weird. But a win is a win, and like you said, we not only did we win, we covered double-digit win, 2-score win. I mean, we're nitpicking because we want more. We see that we're leaving a lot out on the field. And so that's why it comes off as negative. I mean, overall, it was a really, really good team win. The defense was out there doing their thing. You got the turnovers and all that stuff. A couple of sacks, not anything crazy, right? But, it was pretty good. I think the offense looked good. I think the offense is dialed in when they're confident. So I'm not too concerned yet about the offense.
Okay. Let's hear the grievances you have with a specific player, Mike.
Debo. Now, let me preface this by saying I want him on the field at all times. This team just plays better when Debo is out there. His presence is there. Whether he's involved in the game plan or not, when he's on the field, he just demands certain respect by the defenses, and he opens things up for other people. So let me just go ahead and say that and get that out the way. Debo's biggest play of the game, I don't even think he came back on the field after that drive, during that drive. He went to the sideline immediately, was huffing and puffing. And, I mean, it was everything except oxygen mask on his face. I didn't understand what was going on, and he was pretty quiet for the remainder of the game. Is this like a conditioning thing? Is he still injured? Is this possible that, like, the injury is still nagging him that much that he can't?
Not for conditioning purposes. It was a broken bone in his shoulder. He shouldn't be huffing and puffing from that. Unless he did literally no cardio while he was trying to repair it, or trying to let it heal, which, given his history with conditioning issues, I wouldn't be super shocked, to be honest.
So why does he just go MIA so much? Like, I just don't understand what's happening with Debo in this game. Like, when we were, like I said, those three and outs, or two, I don't know if it was 2 or 3. One of them we might have got one first down and then that was it and we punted again. But it was like we couldn't do anything. And I'm like, why aren't they involving Debo? Especially because the run game was so stagnant. Like, that's when you start doing the little tosses to him and the sweeps and all that stuff. And they just, it was nowhere to be seen. Nothing. No.
I think that's like a a Kyle Shanahan problem. I don't know, because he doesn't even get the opportunities, in the running game at least, right? And I don't know why. I think it also coincides with what Matt was saying earlier, where he kind of gets in his own head, starts to outcoach himself. Because if running it up the middle with Christian's not really working, then try something else. And what has worked since these guys have been in the lineup is running to the left, running outside to the left. I mean, the 49ers scored on it last week. Debo had a nice play today, I'm pretty sure, running to the left. I don't know. It is interesting, but I mean, I saw that play, and I think it was kind of like a one where Purdy was almost sacked, and he hits Debo Samuel. There was nobody within like 15 yards of Debo Samuel. There's like a radius, and I was trying to find the tweet right now while you were talking, Mike. Kyle Shanahan's a wizard at what he does, but it's like sometimes he, I don't know, can't read his own writing or something and calls a random play. I don't know what makes it stop. You know what I mean? But I agree with you. I did expect, it's like everybody was eating today except for Debo Samuel. I think he had 30 receiving yards. Let me see. He had three receptions for 63 yards. And like I said earlier, one rush for a -1 yard. So guess I misremembered. He didn't have a good run.
I mean, but that one came on the busted coverage, right? The 39-yarder. Besides that, I just feel like, and again, we talked about this, and I've talked about this before. There are people that will tell you, oh, yeah, no, we should keep Debo and get rid of Brandon Ayuk. And I'm like, in 2021, maybe, right? Now, Christian McCaffrey's eating a lot of the things that Debo was doing. And what's left of Debo Samuel is not worth the production per dollar amount that he's making. He can't stay on the field. He still gets injured. I'm concerned about he's what, 28 now, 27, 28? As he ages, he's not going to age gracefully with the way that he plays. You got Chase Young coming up. You got Brandon Ayuk coming up. At some point or another, he's going to have to take a restructure, or, they might need to move him, but he's the highest paid decoy in the NFL. I'm just put it that way.
Wow. But he's a super valuable decoy, because we saw what happened when he wasn't out there. 17 points.
I maintain that was less Debo Samuel and more Trent Williams, in my opinion. Because Debo Samuel ain't making DBs run away from him. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm gonna say. The level of impact that Trent Williams has on a game, particularly when you get out in space to his side, the left side where Debo likes to run a lot, that makes a huge difference. You're talking Trent Williams, maybe a top 5 left tackle all time. I've never seen somebody as big, as fast, as strong as him all in like one package playing that left tackle position. He's a super freak. Silverback is goddamn right, because he's out there doing things we never seen left tackles do. And I would argue that he's much more valuable to this team than Debo Samuel.
I don't know. We've seen this team win without Debo last year. We didn't see him win without him this year, but they were both out. Trent and Debo were both out. So I don't know. He's valuable to this team, but there are weeks, and it is a little concerning that he could just kind of not be too involved. And they still put up 27 points today. Offense is still rolling. Purdy still had 333 passing yards. And I think that's the beauty of having a loaded offense, is we don't need him there. But I guess where the conflict is they're paying him as if they do need him to be 100-yard, 9 receptions every week. But that's really not what they need, So I don't know. It's a tough situation. And this offseason is going to get even tougher when Brandon Ayuk's like, okay, I'm ready to get paid. And then I was like, sorry, we gave this guy a chunk of your money. And also we're debating keeping Chase, yada, yada, yada.
Well, I mean, listen, the defensive line played not as well last week, right? But they still had 4 sacks and a forced fumble today, right? We're thinking, oh, Baker's got time back there. They're still playing well. I think Chase Young, I watched him on multiple, his get off on the ball is like he's ridiculously fast off the snap. He's somebody that I would definitely look into. But we're talking about sustainability for the future, right? Don't be a prisoner of the moment. Yeah, they lost 3 straight. It coincided with Debo not being there, but also Trent Williams was hurt. Right, he got hurt in that first loss. He missed the next 2. Like it's correlation, not causation. Right, Debo Samuel. Does he make the defense, or the defensive coordinators have to work a little more? Sure. But again, Christian McCaffrey eats a lot of what Deebo Samuel was doing in 2021. He's not doing that anymore. So what are you paying for? What's sustainable? What are you going to, go through? Yes, he's important. I'm not saying that he's not valuable, but in terms of sustainability, what Brandon Ayuk does for this team, no, I mean, the dumbest comment that I heard on the game today was Moose Johnston saying after an Ayuk catch, "Oh, he's starting to develop that route running." I'm like, that dude has phenomenal route running. He needs to shut his ass up, man. But he runs crisp routes. He's able to separate in a way that Deebo just doesn't when he's out there, catching passes. I believe for Deebo's career, and you can look this up, I believe he has more rushing touchdowns than receiving touchdowns.
Probably.
That wouldn't surprise me. Do you want to pay a guy that is more, he coined the term wide back, but to me, he's more running back than he is wide receiver at this point. He's a gimmick player, and eventually the gimmick runs out.
I think what makes this offense special in a general sense is the ability with spacing, right? And what they do with spacing is second to none. Kyle gets guys what I call college open in the NFL.
Check this out.
But when Deebo's not there, when Deebo's not on the field, that spacing isn't the same. And I know you're saying, oh, well, Trent Williams was also out. And that is true. I'm not arguing against that. But, like, if you got Deebo on one side, you got Ayuk on another side, you got Christian McCaffrey in the backfield, and then he splits out wide, these guys, someone is open, like with no one around them. Now, it might be someone open just 3 yards past the line of scrimmage, but they're wide open and they can do something with the ball in their hands afterwards. And that's what Deebo brings to the table. It's the spacing and the respect that these guys have to have when playing against him. So I don't know how or if he needs to be more involved in the offense, as long as we're garnishing that kind of respect from defenders and creating that same opportunity for the rest of the players.
Now, do you think that the lack of, I don't know, I guess openness, but I mean, let's be real too. It's not like Purdy had some interceptions in the fourth quarters of those games, but he was able to rack up some pretty decent numbers through three. The points might not have been there. And that's an issue coming down into the red zone, where I think that Trent Williams, the loss hurts a little more. But do you think it's more Deebo, or do you think it's more the fact that without Trent Williams, without Aaron Banks, that this line beyond, Trent Williams, who hides a lot of warts on that offensive line, is just not that good? I mean, with Trent Williams, I believe PFF has him as their 22nd ranked pass blocking unit. That's hard to overcome. I just think, I'm not saying that Deebo is not good, but he's a very good complementary player to wide receiver one, Brandon Ayuk. And do you want to pay your complementary wide receiver to the point that you can't pay your best wide receiver because that guy's making the most money? I'm arguing because people always say it like it's a him or, it's a Deebo versus Ayuk thing. Like they can't keep them both. I think they probably could if they restructure some deals. Some deals are going to come off the books. We talked about it before that, what's his face that we got from Kansas City. See, he was so bad that
Ward?
D Ford.
No, he's talking about D
Ford. D Ford.
His contract's coming off the books after this season, right? His dead cap hit. There's some other guys that, you can always kick the can down the road. It's possible to keep them both. But I just think that it's pretty irresponsible for people to just so willy-nilly be like, oh, we can just get another wide receiver one. We can get another guy that does what Brandon Ayuk does. We can't get another Deebo. Sure, I could say, yes, you can't necessarily get another Deebo, but don't overlook how valuable wide receiver ones can be, particularly ones that fit this offense so well. It's not easy to replace those guys. And
right.
Ayuk can be doing that for the foreseeable future. If it's a him versus him, one versus one, I would take Brandon Ayuk and choose to extend him because I think it's going to be more sustainable for more years. Ideally, of course, I'd like to keep them both.
I mean, we talked about this in the preview show. Yeah, we talked about this in the preview show, and I agreed with you. And I said, fans, two things they just assume happens if a team tries developing a quarterback, right? Well, the team tried to develop a quarterback, so he's going to turn into a star. That doesn't automatically happen. And two, replacing a player 1-for-1 in the draft. The Niners tried to replace DeForest Buckner with Javon Kinlaw. How'd that work out? The Titans tried to replace A.J. Brown with Traylon Burks. How's that worked out? Like there's not always a 1-to-1 replacement. Now, does it happen? Yes. The Eagles just replaced Javon Hargrave with Jalen Carter, and he looks better than Hargrave. So there are occasions, but it's not a assumed fact. You're like, it's not going to happen just because you try to do it. Brandon Ayuk has been the best 49ers wide receiver since Terrell Owens. Maybe Anquan Bolden at times was as dominant, but the route running, the consistency, he's just a really, really good receiver. And I would just advise fans to maybe hesitate a little bit when you're so quick to move off of him.
They can't help it because they're all sitting there playing Madden thinking they're like GM of the week and shit. And it's a reason why 75% of first round picks like flame out, man. It's like most of them don't work. It's so hard to actually get great talent out there. People look at the Chargers and be like, oh man, they did a great job drafting Keenan Allen or whatever. They drafted a wide receiver in the first round that dropped a sure touchdown pass today. Keenan Allen was a 3rd round pick. You just don't know. Yeah. Look at what Brock Purdy's doing, Mr. Irrelevant. You just don't know. And to just so flippantly want to, play armchair GM and be like, we can get rid of this guy versus this guy. I don't know, man. And not even really suss it out in terms of, at least I'm trying to look at the sustainability of the thing, right? Like who's producing more, because BA is like nearly doubling Deebo's production, and it's in a more sustainable way. He sees the field more, right? He's played one less season in the NFL than Deebo Samuel, but only actually 4 less games. That says something. That's important. So I don't know. If you're going to make it a pure choice, dollar for dollar, player for player, then I think that BA is the smarter investment. If you don't believe he's the more valuable player, fine, but he's the smarter investment.
Also, I think, Mike, I'm going to ask you about this picture, but I think Jennings, this is probably his last year with the 49ers. I wouldn't be surprised if some team gives him $40 million next year, and the 49ers are not going to give him that contract. As much as they love him, as much as they've enjoyed having him here, he's going to get that Kendrick Bourne type contract that Kendrick Bourne had here. Granted, he's never had the numbers that Kendrick Bourne had, but I think a team will see him and say he could be like our wide receiver too. Is Carolina going to come and offer him a monster contract? Or I say monster, but for his status, a 7th round pick, I think they'd be very tempted to. Mike, you were talking about this picture, how crazy it is. This is the play we were talking about. Kyle Shanahan does this stuff every week. I mean, what are your thoughts? What do you think about this?
It's knuck and futz. Like this should not be happening in the NFL. This should not take place in a league where it's the best of the best every week, and who Deebo Samuel is. Like, this is insane. How is this not a touchdown? How many people were back there? Like, look at where he is beyond the first down marker. and look at the space ahead of him. Like, that is absolutely insane. The fact that the official is the closest person to him on the sideline walking is just saying something. So, Kyle definitely gets in his bag when he needs to, when he wants to. And Zach, you asked the question, who's going to get the 86-yarder next week? My money would be on Deebo. I could see it being where they snap the ball and Deebo goes behind the line of scrimmage. He drops back, and it's like some kind of screenplay where he just runs it for the 86 yards. You know what I mean? It'll be a negative 1 yard pass, and he'll just do the rest, in open space and through the middle of the field. He's that type of player. So I'll be really excited, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happened next week.
Yeah. It's insane. All right. Let's get into the defense, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on the defense. They only gave up 14 points. Seemed like they were in position to give up a lot more than that. I think I counted 5, 6 should be interceptions. I ended up not being interceptions. They finished the day with only 1 interception on Baker Mayfield. He finished the day 29 of 45, 246 yards, 1 pick, 1 touchdown, and was sacked 4 times. What do you guys think? How'd the defense do today? In my opinion, there's still one thing that continues to bite them in the ass. But Mike, I'll go right back to you. What were your thoughts on 49ers defense?
Yeah, bend but don't break at its finest. This team, I thought they were going to get in the end zone a couple of times, and we got the turnover. Like I said, we talked about the Jair Brown play earlier, and then Greenlaw. The ball in both hands, dropped it. I think we got lucky with a couple of pass breakups. You know, the Javarius Ward one, the Jair Brown one. You know, but that's part of the game, right? You're not gonna stop all of them. You're not gonna have no completions all game long, but you got to make plays when you're supposed to. The defensive line was, they showed this graphic during the game, and it really pissed me off about how good the Niners are with pressures. Oh my God, it's like such an empty stat. I hated seeing that up on the screen, but it is what it is. Look, man, the team is still learning. They're still growing. Fred Warner is a monster out there, and the defense just has to really stop with some of these penalties that they're doing over and over and over. They're too penalized for me, in my opinion. But again, we're nitpicking, right? If you only let up 2 scores in a game, and by the way, if I'm not mistaken, their second score was aided by a big pass interference, right? Wasn't there like a penalty on that play? I think there was a big penalty on that drive that they scored on.
To Ayuk?
Yeah. No. For the Buccaneers, I think Fred Warner or someone had like a pass interference in the end zone, right?
Yeah.
And so they gave him the ball on the 1 yard line.
Bro, he tried to argue that too, and I'm like, Fred, you just shoved his ass away.
I mean, my man sold it because watching it in real time,
he did sell it.
I didn't think it was that much of a pass. I saw Fred Warner get a hand on him, but like it looked like he blew him, and the guy was like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
Like he just like flew over. I'm like,
wow. Flopped for sure, but it was a penalty.
It worked out in their favor, and they ended up scoring on it. But these guys they're learning, man. The strength of this defense is supposed to be the defensive line, and I think we're seeing that. The screen plays. We are still like, thank God teams just don't have the energy to run screens all game long, because if they did, the Niners would give up 48 points a game. I swear to God they would.
Yes.
I swear they would give up 48 points a game if a team just screened us all game long. It'd be the longest most amount of yards a team ever gave up in history. I swear it. But it takes too much energy to do screens because you got to throw it and have your whole offense shift to one side to try to block, and it's a lot of movement. It's a lot of horizontal movement to get vertical, and the teams just can't sustain it. So luckily for us, that's not a part of it. But we're going to see a lot of 3 sets to one side and one guy to the other, and they're going to check it down to the running backs and have those 3 guys blocking for them. And we have to learn to shed those guys, or at least like eat up some field, like fall down and muddle up the field where that screen is going. They have to do something to allow the other players to get there in space and help out. So we'll see what happens. But the defense, they played okay. I would like to see more hits on the quarterback. And by the way, Baker Mayfield complained about a Bosa hit. It was a little late. It was a tad bit late. I did not like seeing Bosa going over there and apologizing to him after the play, like on the field.
He said that Baker was
bitching
to the refs. Yeah, bitching to the refs for a horse collar. And he's like, I went and I told him you can't get a horse collar in the pocket. And that's what he said. He said I wasn't consoling him or anything. He was bitching to the ref, and I went and told him the rule that you can't get called for horse collar in the pocket. But
okay,
yeah,
okay.
It was interesting.
I didn't do the pressers, but I didn't like seeing him going. I thought he was like over there. Sorry about that, man. I didn't want to hurt you on that. That's what it looked like, on the during the game. It's good to know that that's what he was telling him. Like, hey, know the rules. Shut up. Stop bitching. I respect that a lot more. So that's cool.
Yeah. The screen passes. I just want to say, and then I'll get your thoughts, Matt. Piss me off the most because it's been a problem. When we did the previous show last night, I think it was last night, right? Yeah. We even talked about how Kyle Shanahan spoke with Greg Papa on the pregame, show that KNBR or NBC, I forget who does it. And he talked about being fully aware that his defense needs to play better against screen passes. It's something that's kind of bit them in the ass the last couple of weeks. They continue to do so. Luckily, it didn't cost them the game today. But man, it's frustrating to see. And I think you guys are right. Luckily teams can't run a screen pass every damn play because the 49ers would give up 500 yards and 40 points. Like you said, Mike. Matt, what'd you think of the defensive performance today?
It was hit or miss. I thought that, certain aspects were really good. Namely, Fred Warner was absolutely incredible. That defensive penalty notwithstanding. Couple pass deflections. I know he had a forced fumble. He had 12 tackles. He had a half sack. He was all over the field. He flew around there. Looked fantastic. You had it was fine, which is the defensive line, right? And then you had the absolutely stinky Charvarius Ward just getting cooked left and right. And you're talking about not a top tier dollar, but not a low dollar guy that the 49ers went out and signed in free agency. And they were picking on him like he was a rookie today. There was a drive where they went after him like 4 straight times, and he gave up a first down every single time with that soft baby shit coverage that he plays. It doesn't even look like he wants to be out there sometimes, that he's just letting it happen in front of him and maybe thinking that. And it was like the same play. It was that same 8-9 yard out it was like Evans twice. It was that number 14. It was number 10. Like they were just taking advantage of him. And he's quickly becoming a liability, because if he's not giving up those passes, once they're done going to those passes and they try to do something over the top, he gets busted for a hold, illegal contact, XYZ. And it's like, you got people on Twitter, like David Lombardi being like, great coverage by Charvarius Ward there, made a play because he had a pass breakup. It's like, okay, dude, but where was he on the other 6 receptions? Like, you got to look at it both ways. And he does have these times where he makes incredible plays on the ball, but when you can't get off the field on 3rd down and long because you're giving up this stuff underneath, and you're either not athletic enough or not trying hard enough to make a tackle, it gets frustrating. And the defense was out there. And the real reason why this game was 27-14 and not more than that is because the defense couldn't get off the field on 3rd down. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but Tampa was 3 for 4 in 3rd down conversions in the first half. I believe they had even more than that in the second half. It's
they finished 7 for 14.
Yeah, the screens are a problem.
Yeah.
By no means do I think that they're not a problem. You said 7 of 14.
7 of 14. 1 for 3.
I feel like a few of those were at the end of the game where they're trying to convert something, to be honest. But
they had a higher percentage most of the game. I want to say they were
right.
Like,
and when they were still in the game and not in desperation mode, it was pick on Ward time. Yeah. I thought Diamador Lenore did a good job of cleaning up his missed tackles for the most part, and he kind of made an adjustment. I know Ambry Thomas got cooked a couple times, but it was the Charvarius Ward show. I'm gonna call him Mooney now because he was definitely ass out on a lot of those plays. That's for sure. It's not looking good, and that's going to become a problem. If the defensive line can't get home like they did last week against Jacksonville, you can look forward to more of this soft coverage and a lot more of these problems, particularly when, Steve Wilkes is still dialing up these all-out blitzes that don't do a fucking thing, that you're rushing 7 and nothing happens. Nobody gets home. Just rush the 4, drop the 7, keep the linebackers in coverage. There was a play where they blitzed Dre Greenlaw. I believe it was on the touchdown catch, where if Dre Greenlaw is sitting back in coverage, you can't throw that pass because he'd be in the throwing lane. Where, on that pass to, I believe it was Evans that caught it. It's just, it's definitely a problem. The secondary is a problem, just like I thought it would be. It's almost like they should have traded for a DB, but everybody's so concerned with getting more edge. Pass rush fixes everything. Apparently not, because this is something that I said, don't get too comfortable with the 49ers just because they had a great game against Jacksonville. They let Baker Mayfield keep them in the game for most of it, and there's no excuse for that. When we get up into the playoffs against the better quarterbacks, the Jalen Hurts of the world, it could come back to bite them. That's all I'm saying, man.
I saw a stat. The 49ers finished with 11 pass breakups today. That's a good amount. So shout out to them. But yeah, they weren't elite, like they definitely were plenty of opportunities to get off the field where they couldn't. Baker Mayfield was connecting. I mean, that right side, that little flat area, 10 to 15 yards, I feel like they completed 1,000 passes in that area today. Like every time I looked, Moody Ward's, like Matt said, get thrown on, completed on third down. So hopefully it's something they can address. Mike, were you going to say something?
I was going to say the biggest concern for me, everything that you guys are saying is a concern, right? But the biggest sign that this defense isn't nearly as dominant as the points that they're allowing is the time of possession. I mean, it was damn near even. And for us to have a lead the way that we did, basically all game long, multiple score lead, right? Like, we should dominate the time of possession. And that's how you know the run game isn't working the way it's supposed to, and the defense isn't getting the other team off the field the way that they're supposed to. And these are things that are going to kill us in the postseason when we're playing up against top-tier teams. This is stuff you can't – if you think that we can play like this against a team like the Eagles, you're wrong. You give the Eagles the ball for 30 minutes in a game, they're going to put up 30-plus points. They're going to do that. You have to control the clock. You have to get the team off the field, and then you have to be dominant on the offensive side. Like you have to. It's got to be complementary football, and we're not quite doing that yet. And we get fooled by looking at the total points allowed. But go back and look at all these last. Well, maybe not the Jacksonville game. I don't know what the time of possession was in that one. But you look at the 3 losses, you look at the win today, and look at the time of possession, and those games are damn near even. You can't do that. It can't be that way. You're letting these teams hang around, and you're giving them too many opportunities.
I missed a super chat. So sorry, Roberto Davis. He said Niners didn't get Surtain because this is Trent's last year, and the Niners need that first-round pick to have a shot at drafting a tackle. That very well could be. I don't know. Trent's talked about retirement. Seems like the last couple of years he's discussed it in the offseason. I think if the 49ers win it all this year, he's definitely riding off into the sunset. He's not coming back.
Sure. But you could also use a couple of those. I think they have some more comp picks coming their way. You use like 1 or 2 of those comp picks that, and their second round pick to trade up late first, early second, or something of that nature. You don't necessarily have to, whatever. Yeah, they needed something, and they didn't do anything. I thought that, Rasul Douglas was a guy that moved, and I know there were reports that the Packers were not going to help the 49ers in any way. But fact of the matter is they have ignored the offensive line. They've ignored the defensive backfield for far too long, and it's going to come back and bite them in the ass. You can only put all of your resources into one basket before you start seeing a deficit of talent in other areas, and that's kind of what we have right now. Their alleged cornerback 1 was getting picked on by Baker Mayfield today. That should be worrying to everybody.
Just to play devil's advocate, I agree they ignored the offensive line. I wouldn't know if they ignored defense. Maybe this trade market they did, this trade season. But I mean, they've drafted Lenore, Thomas, they signed Ward to a huge contract. Huff's turned into something special.
Thomas, 3rd round pick. Lenore, 5th or 5th round pick, I believe. Luter, 5th round pick. Like, these are not high end guys. Hufanga, 6th round pick. These are not like high draft pick guys. It's not like they're trying to go out and draft a Patrick Surtain
they haven't had a first.
Right. I was going to say we didn't have the picks to do it though.
And this is where the miss on Trey Lance hurts. But I'm just saying, like,
sure,
where you have like the Drake Jackson selection. Why not do what you guys had done? You've proven that you can turn guys like Samson Ebukam and others into at least serviceable guys. And it's pretty clear that Drake Jackson is another flop for the 49ers in terms of draft pick. Yeah, did he even play today? I saw Cleveland Farrell out there.
He's on IR, isn't he?
He's on IR, yeah. He's injured.
Well, there you go. Just 3 sacks, that's going to be his legacy here. I don't know, man. It's just, how many first rounders do we have on that defensive line? How many second rounders? And you're going to be like, oh, well, they kind of touched the defensive backfield. Yeah, with like 3rd to 6th round picks. You can find some guys there, but you're not going to find many game changers there. That's all I'm saying. You got to look, particularly tackle. You're not going to find, not likely to find a great left tackle drafting him in the 4th, 5th, 6th round. That's just not going to be a thing.
That's fair. All right. Any final thoughts before we get into our chat pack tonight? Mike, Matt?
Somebody disagreed with me earlier about Ray McLeod. Prove it. He sucks. He stinks. Returning the ball, he stinks. His claim to fame is not dropping it when it comes to him. Congratulations, because that dude is allergic to open space. I don't know what's going on with him, but it's not good. Piss poor coverage on that one punt return. Looked like Tabor Pepper got absolutely juked out of his shoes. He had the angle on the tackle.
Yeah.
It's like shook him. And I don't want to pick on him too much because he's just a long snapper, but like if you're down there, you got to do something, dude. And poor Mitch Wisnowski was not fast enough to catch up to that guy. Jake Moody looked good, but overall, I thought that every aspect of the game, there was some flaw. And that's why you only have a 13-point margin of victory, despite the fact that the offense gained 420 yards and the defense forced, I think it was 3 turnovers. So,
yeah, at best, at best, Ray's average. At best, he's average. They signed him the season after he like led the league in return yards, and that was like their biggest area of weakness. Their biggest weakness was special teams. He has not had that level of success here, so I don't know what it is. Mike, any final thoughts?
No, man. We watch this team under a microscope, so it's easy for us to see the flaws and all that, because as I was looking around the league today, a lot of these teams are like, wow, they need some help. But it's so weird when I watch the Niners because excuse me, I can't tell you like definitively the Niners are good at blank on defense. The Niners are great at blank on offense, right? I can't say it definitively. One week I'm like, oh, we have like the best run game. And then it's like, okay, no, we don't. We got a really good passing game. Oh, wait. Now that's gone too in this 3-game stretch, right? So it's like it's back and forth all the time, but they're going to find ways to win, and that's what I like. I think what we have to bank on is the coaching staff. Like, know that these guys are going to find a way to attack during a game, and they got to go out there and take advantage of it.
Yeah. My final thoughts. They won by 13, but like I said, this was a 6-point game at half. We hadn't seen the 49ers win these kind of tough, gutted out games this year. Of course, we saw it last year, but I think they were 1-4, the 1-3. They showed the stat today. The Rams game, which should have been a 10-point game, Sean McVay kicked the field goal to cut it down to a 7-point game. That's the only game that they won that was technically a 1-score game this year. So I'll give them the credit that they were able to pull it. And by the way, it's the stupidest shit when I see people say, Brock Purdy can only play well when they're up 20-something points in the fourth. How do you think they got up 20-something points in the fourth? He's not a closer. It's like they put him in after Sam Darnold did all the work between the first and the third quarter. He helped them get that lead. So for the love of God, stop with this.
And by the way, that narrative is just a cop-out to allow, to take heat off the defense. Oh, yeah, it's all Brock Purdy's fault. It's like, I don't know, maybe if the defense doesn't give up so many fucking points, it's not like, again, a lot of things can be true, right? We still need to see Brock Purdy come from behind, kind of clutch victory. He's looked pressed in those late. But, is he trying to do too much? Whatever, is he getting that Brock Favre mentality? But then also, who got them in that position to begin with? Some of these games where they can't get off the field, like I said, and they've looked better the last 2 weeks, but against a better team, who knows? So we'll see. I just think that it's too cheap a victory to be like, oh yeah, Brock only plays well when he's up and he plays terribly when he's down, and just ignoring the other aspects of the game as if football isn't the ultimate team sport.
I mean, I've seen people still put the loss in Philly on Brock. That's a loss in his record to some people. Bro, he played 5 snaps.
Who actually did that?
I've seen a ton of people do it. I'm sure Nick does it. Sometimes Nick Wright. I'm sure on stats on TV will even before the 3-game
he
losing
played
streak,
10 snaps.
He played 6. And even before the 3-game losing streak, I would show it, Brock was 10-1 his record. And I'm like, what game did he lose? And it'd be the Philly game. Like, how do people put that on? He played 5 or 6 snaps in that game. All right.
Well, before he got injured, he came back when old boy got concussed and couldn't throw the ball. He was just handing it off. Right. I think he had 1 pass attempt, and it was a wobbling duck that went 3 yards.
It's funny that they credit him with that loss, but they won't count the win against Miami where he came in the whole game except for the opening drive.
With them down, by the way.
Yeah.
Yep. Come on.
I think they were down by 10 when he came in the game.
They were. Yep.
It's just nuts that people just completely ignore. I don't know. If you want to create a narrative, it's easy. That's what the numbers are there for. They're there to be manipulated, right? But the truth is, he's good. And if the kicker made that kick against Cleveland, you wouldn't be saying that he can't come back from behind and lead a game-winning drive and things like that, because he did it. He did it against Oakland as well. Or I'm sorry,
Las Vegas.
I apologize. He did it against Vegas as well. He's got 17 starts, 18 starts now under his belt. I thought that was pretty cool, though, to be completely honest with you guys. Completely separate. He gets his first official start against the Buccaneers, and he starts season 2 against Buccaneers, like season 2 of games. This is game 18 against the Buccaneers as well. So I thought that was pretty cool, like a little poetic justice, so to speak. And he went out there and did his thing. So I'm proud of the young man, and I'm not going to sit here and nitpick and try to pull him apart with shit like that, because it's cheap. It's low-hanging fruit.
I saw a comment in here, and I probably pulled it up, and I didn't acknowledge it at the time. He's 5-1 this against former first-round picks. So the only one he's lost against was Joe Burrow this year. So pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah, not bad overall.
Yeah. Number one overall pick. Sorry.
Quick question for you guys: with the season-ending injury, if it is season-ending to Hufanga, do you pick up your phone and maybe give Jaquiski Tartt a call?
That man is not coming back, even if they offered him $100 million. I don't know if something happened here.
I know. I feel like he hated it here at the end, right?
Yeah. I mean, we have somewhat of a little inside source, and he told us absolutely no way. When he was back, it was back when Tartt was with the Eagles, and he told us, like, there's absolutely no chance he would come back to the Niners. He probably wouldn't even pick up their calls.
Did you guys see the creepy stat, the ghost of the Niners? So last year it was every team that the Niners played, they lost the following game. This year, the 3 teams that beat the Niners lost their quarterbacks for the season.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That shit is nuts.
Eagles aren't going to have anything to worry about. Neither will the Seahawks.
I will say that there's one caveat to that, and that's Deshaun Watson didn't play against the 49ers. It was PJ Walker.
Yeah.
So that was just incidental.
Deshaun Watson's such a bad person that the karma carried over onto him and it went right over PJ.
See, but somebody said karma, and it's like, nah, dude, he's gonna go and use get that guaranteed dollar amount to find himself a new massage parlor in Cleveland to kind of rest up,
Don't be ridiculous, Matt. He's already found it. He's been there for how long?
That's fair.
All right. We're gonna do our chat pack, but Joey says no one with the dropped call joke.
Bro, to be honest, that's probably why he would never fucking come back here, because he got so much shit for dropping that pick against the Rams.
That's true. All right. Before we do chat pack, we got to pay the bills. We'll be right back with a quick word from our sponsor. Just want to take a second to thank today's sponsor, MyBookie. As a bettor, you demand perfection, and MyBookie delivers. NFL, college football, and a brand new cash out system gives you options to bet and win all season long. The first 2 legs of your parlay hit, cash out early and use the funds on another bet. Or you could let it ride for the chance of a bigger payday. Join the MyBookie family for a season filled with odds boosts, free bets, and super contests. To get started, all you got to do is super simple. Go to Mybookie.AG right now and register for an account for free. That's right, it's free. And whenever it is you're ready to make your first deposit, just use promo code HIVE. It's right here on the screen, HIVE, to grab a welcome bonus on the house. That's our gift to you for being a part of the 49ers Hive family. That's promo code HIVE, HIVE, to claim your deposit bonus. And for a limited time, you also get a free chip to use in the MyBookie casino. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Now let's get back to the show. All right, guys, go take advantage right now. MyBookie.ag, promo code HIVE. And I will forever hate the Chargers for ruining my parlay today. Absolutely zero reason to losing Green Bay against Jordan Love and those shitty Packers. All right, let's get into chat pack time. I have a good one for you guys today. All right. Considering all the big screen movies that you have ever seen, which one do you believe had the greatest emotional impact on you?
This is easy for me. There's this movie called, damn it.
Sex in the City.
It's Owen Wilson. It was just suspenseful from start to end. His family's overseas, and like this like civil war breaks out in the city.
Owen Wilson?
Yes. Is it Owen Wilson? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think it's called No Escape or not. Damn it, what's it called?
That is a thriller movie with Owen Wilson. I've seen this movie. Pierce Brosnan.
Yes.
Listen,
That's
a good movie.
I went to the theaters, and as a dad, I was on the edge of my seat the entire. So they're just killing Americans. They're killing anybody that is not with them, like with the rebellion. And his daughter. There's a scene in this movie where his daughter has to pee, but they're like in the apartment that they're hiding in, and she like doesn't want to pee on herself. She doesn't understand that she has to be quiet. His oldest teenage daughter went to the pool, so they're separated while all this is going. Like, the movie had my heart racing the entire time of the movie. I have never and you try to put yourself in, like, what would I do? Do I leave my wife with the other kids and go try to find my daughter that's down there? Like, what if I get killed when I'm out there? There's no way to communicate with my wife. Like, it was just edge of your seat the entire time. Great movie if you guys have never seen it. This movie was phenomenal. And watching Owen Wilson try to play a serious role, I mean, I like when actors get outside of what their caricature normally is. I like that. It doesn't always work out, by the way, but this was a phenomenal movie. I recommend it. 2 big thumbs up for that movie.
Yeah, that was a really good movie. All right, for me, it's a tie between 2, and one is A Star Is Born, the remake a couple years ago with Bradley Cooper, Lady Gaga. I'm balling in this movie theater. I look over, there's like 3 guys that are like bigger than me, and they're balling as well. And the second one, believe it or not, and I bet you a lot of people are going to agree with me, Click. Click made me bawl like a little baby. With Adam Sandler, he gets the remote. He's able to, rewind and fast forward his life. He's watching his dad die in front of him. I mean, it just puts things into perspective how fast life goes, right? And those 2 movies, I don't know if I've ever cried more than watching those 2.
What was sad about Click?
Like his dad died in front of him. He lost control of the remote. So like it fast forwarded through like his kid's childhood. So he missed the whole thing.
His family hates
him.
They resent
divorced
him
from his wife, and like he essentially missed his whole life. And the sad part about it was like he was in it's actually pretty dark. He's like in the street in pouring rain, dying of a fucking heart attack, like regretting the fact that he missed everything. It got like real sad, dude.
I thought he woke up at the end and it was like a dream.
I mean,
I think it was, but you
in
still
that moment, though. In that moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you got, Matt?
Bro, I don't know, man.
And Zach, what was the first one? A Star Is Born? Is that what you said?
Star Is Born, yeah.
I've never even heard of it. So
it's really good. It's a remake of like a 1950s movie. Bradley Cooper, Lady Gaga. He directed it. He can sing. It's not fair, man. Bradley Cooper's way too talented and handsome. I'm just gonna say that. I just gotta get that out there. It pisses me off. Sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
Dang. I'm trying to think. Okay. I don't know if you guys have seen this movie. This just goes because, I have issues from like broken childhood or whatever, right? Like anything with like a dad and kids, right? Because I didn't really grow up with my dad, kind of gets to me. But there was this like Mandy Moore movie called A Walk in the Clouds. And this dude is like struggling, right? Like he's with this girl and she's got cancer and she needs like treatment, and they can't get the treatment or whatever. And it was this particular scene where like the kid's dad ends up paying for it, and the kid shows up on his doorstep, and it's like this emotional, like, because they'd been at odds or whatever, and it was like this bonding moment between the two. That always gets to me. And then probably like other movies, it's music that gets to me, right? So like Rudy gets to me, like that building crescendo of a song at the end, like that always gets to me. Shawshank Redemption at the end, that gets to me. Like just any type of music, right? Like when I watch a movie like Superman or whatever, and it's the score that's by John Williams, and it's that Superman theme, like it just like pumps you up. You feel like you can fly. Music has always been a more emotional tie to me. Yeah, A Walk to Remember, that's what it is. Thanks.
I love that Matt is a sucker for a good score. That is incredible. That is absolutely incredible. Like, but you don't feel like that's cheating? Like the movie is telling you how you're supposed to feel with the music? You don't think that's cheating?
No, because you're looking at, listen, music can get you feel one way or another anyway, right? Like any type of music gonna, let's see. any type of like dance song, right, is going to get you to want to dance.
Right.
Any sad R&B song that's going to make you think about breaking up with a girl is supposed to make you sad. That's the whole purpose of music, is to evoke these feelings from you. And so I don't feel like it's cheating to get caught up in the music, right? Because I couldn't give up. There's some movies that are dog shit, but that the score and the soundtrack is fantastic. We all have those, right? Where it's like, that movie sucked, but damn, dude, that track right there, that shit was a banger. Right. So I don't know.
Have you guys ever seen the movie 7 Pounds?
No, but I've heard a lot about it.
That's one with Will Smith, right?
Yeah, Will Smith. I kind of wish Will Smith wasn't the actor in it, but the storyline is really, really good.
Yeah.
And it basically, like, this guy, I don't. It's not spoilers now, right? The movie's like 12 years old, 13 years old, something like that, right? So Will Smith, and he gets into like a really bad car accident with his family. And I think he kills his wife and daughter or something like that in the car accident. Or maybe he killed the passengers of the car or whatever. Something happens, and he just feels so guilty that he puts himself like on like a donor's list. But he doesn't do it in the typical way. He goes and he's going to donate everything. His eyes, he's going to donate his heart, he's going to donate his liver. He's doing the what's it called when they pull the bone marrow? He's doing marrow transplants. Like, he's putting himself through all this pain and everything. And he meets all the people who were on the tops of these lists for the next donor. He meets them all and determines if they're a good person or not. But they don't tell you that's what he's doing. He's just going around, like, just hanging out with random blind people. Like, this guy doesn't deserve it. Oh, this guy's a liar. You're at the top of the list. No, you're a bad person. He like follows each of these individuals. He goes around. And then what's my girl's name? She ends up the one getting the heart. I can't remember what her name is. The actress's name. I could see her.
Rosario Dawson.
Rosario Dawson. Yeah. She's the one that ends up getting the heart. But like he ends up like falling in love with the girl, and like he didn't want to do it because he ended up wanting to spend time with her and all that stuff. But he still goes through it, and like at the end of it, he kills himself by getting in an ice bath with jellyfish.
With the jellyfish, yeah, I remember that.
And so and he just donates everything at the end. It's a pretty cool movie. It was a good movie.
Yeah. Hey, I agree with Hung Fat, by the way. Pursuit of Happiness kills me. Dude, that scene where he's like in the bathroom with his son trying to keep the door closed, and that shit kills me every time, dude.
Yeah.
Every time. And then the triumph when he gets the job. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's amazing.
I don't know if a movie has actually made me cry before. That's pretty like cold. I water up. I told you guys, I think I said it before on here, the scene in The Patriot, the Mel Gibson movie with the little girl, just wouldn't talk to him for years. He's going away to war. He comes back.
Yeah, that one gets me too.
Please give me a hug. Can I have a hug? Anything?
Like,
anything for Dad?
Yeah, nothing. And then when he's about to dip, she's like, I'll say anything you want. Just stay.
Just stay.
Like,
yes. Oh, no. I was like, oh shit, I'm a bitch. You got
me. Oh shit, it got me. Yep. Every time, dude. Dude, I cried a lot of movies, actually. Like anything like I said with the family dynamic or whatever. Dude, Disney movies get me all the time. I was just, what was I watching? I think I was watching like Coco or some shit with my daughter, like just bouncing her on my lap, dude, and that shit got me.
All right. That's going to do it for tonight's show, guys. Go watch a happy movie. Maybe rewatch the Niners win so you feel good. That was a good question. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Hit like, hit subscribe. Appreciate all you guys. We'll be back later in the week to preview the 49ers Thanksgiving Thursday night matchup against the Seahawks in Seattle. Make sure you follow all of us on X. Follow 49ers Hive. Follow Nothing But Niners. Follow RGS Pod so you don't miss a thing. Mike, let the folks know where to find you in case they don't already. I'm sure they do.
Yeah, Nothing But Niners on YouTube, Patreon. NB9 ERS on Patreon, sorry. You guys follow us on X. All your social medias, we're out there, man. Twitch, IG, all that good stuff. Give us a follow over there. Thanksgiving, I cannot wait. I might end up just going live all day long. It's my birthday. I want to sit around and do nothing. I want to be drunk. I don't want to do anything. A buddy of mine is like, come on, you could do all that over here. He's like really, really trying to get me to. They have like 50 people going, but where he works, I don't want to put his business out there, but I told him, I said, if you can get me a room and I got good Wi-Fi, I will bring my whole setup and I'll pop in and out during the day and say hi to people. But I don't want to be bothered, if I'm being completely honest with you. And he's like, no, you could do that here. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. So, but I'm excited about Thanksgiving. Hopefully we get to relax and we get to celebrate a win. So that's all I got for you guys.
All right. I love it. Matt, carry us out.
Absolutely. Another win in the books. We needed that one. Not as pretty as it should have been, but on to the next one. We'll see how they can do. Thanksgiving, I hope all of you can catch some of the game, but spend time with your family, man. You never know. You never know what's coming around the corner. Always hug the ones you love. Be thankful for their presence. I'm thankful for Mike for joining us. I'm thankful for Zach. I'm thankful to all of you guys. So with this holiday weekend coming up and the 49ers playing Thursday, I just want to thank everybody for joining us once again. And until next time, enjoy your turkey and go Niners.